industry definition, not mine. I didn't make this up. This comes out of literature. In fact, everything I'm showing you comes out of their literature. The smart grid delivers electricity from suppliers to consumers using two-way digital technology to control appliances at consumers' homes to save energy, reduce cost, increase reliability, and transparency. Sounds nice, doesn't it? Secondly, it's a nickname, another way to look at it, it's a nickname for an ever-widening palette of utility applications that enhance and automate the monitoring and control of electrical distribution.
You're listening to Canary Cry Radio.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to Canary Cry Radio once again. My name is Basil, and as you can tell, I'm a little bit under the weather today, but it's not going to stop me tonight. So if you're coming in from Facebook or Twitter or YouTube or Fringe Radio Network or Revelations Radio Network or anywhere else, thanks for stopping by, and make sure to check us out in any one of those outlets there. Today is a very special show. We have a very special guest calling in all the way from Missouri. Please help me welcome Gonz to the show.
We're back in your ear.
Hi, Gonz. Where are you at?
I'm in the middle of Missouri in a hotel. Actually, not a hotel. I'm in an inn. So the internet connection is going to be shabby, and it's going to be between the internet connection I have here, which is Wi-Fi, and your coffee throat. This is just going to be an awesome show. So
yeah, no, this is going to be bumpy, but I think you guys can handle it. So yeah, we're beaming. I feel like I'm beaming you in from like some foreign country right now.
Practically. You know, the biggest thing that I found that was really interesting is that I rented a car out here, and the people are so much nicer on the road out here, and you know as well as I do, coming from Southern California, you know, people are like wolves out there in Southern California, and people are just so nice here. They drive, you know, at a reasonable speed, and everyone's very gentle and tells you to go ahead, and no one's in a rush, and I don't know, it's kind of nice.
Wow, that sounds really pleasant.
It is kind of pleasant, but
all right.
Yeah. Anyway, I wanted to kind of give a little overview of an observation I made on the way here, which I actually blogged about. So if you go to, I think we'll put it in the show notes, a link to facelikethesun.com. You can see the blog post there. Basically, first off, I got a ticket to Branson as kind of like a last-minute thing. So I wasn't really going to come out here, but since the ticket came and Doug Hamp wanted me there and, you know, got me into the conference as kind of part of his camp, I decided to make my way out here. But here was the deal. The plane ticket, I found out the night before I was supposed to leave that it's a standby ticket. So I didn't actually have a seat on the plane. So I was going to find out that day if someone didn't show up, and I found out that the flight was full. So if everyone showed up, then I wouldn't have been able to make it out here. And pray for me, guys, because on Monday I have the same standby ticket for the ride home.
Wow.
So if I don't get a flight home, then I'm stuck in Springfield, Missouri for an extra day or two or whatever, however long it takes.
And we'll be stuck with this internet for the next show or something.
Yeah, it might even be worse because I may have to stay in like a Motel 6 or something. So.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's getting worse as we talk. But yeah, so we'll keep you in prayer there. As you can tell, we have an enormous budget here, and we're just so rich Southern Californians that standby tickets are just sort of the norm.
Yeah, apparently. Well, I mean, it was a blessing to have the tickets to begin with. But here's what the observations that I had that made this really, really fun. So I'm at LAX, and you know, we check in at the front there, and we got to go through TSA, right? So as I'm walking towards TSA, I look down at my ticket, and there's a $2.50 charge for what's called the September 11th protection fee.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought to myself, boy, $2.50, if anything happens, I better get a refund. I better, anyway, probably too soon to make 9/11 jokes.
You just broke up a lot.
I said it's probably too soon to make 9/11 jokes.
Yeah, I think we're still within the 15-year window for 9/11 jokes.
Yeah, I think it's like a 26-year or something. Anyway.
Okay.
So anyway, I thought that was really funny. But, just walking up to TSA, you hear the guys yelling like, belt off, laptops in a cart by itself. And it's really militant,
Right.
So, I'm getting ready to, take off my belt and take everything out of my pockets and doing all this stuff. But I go up to the guy there that like checks your stuff, your ID and your ticket. And he does like, he's a good, TSA worker. He's doing his job, but he totally does like the triple take, where he kind of like looks at the ID and then like raises his eyebrow, looks up at me, and then looks back down at the ID and looks back up at me. And it's like, dude, it's me. It's like, I'm not trying to be someone I'm not. But
you're pretty suspicious looking.
I am. So yeah,
I don't blame him.
So anyway, we proceed. I get through. He lets me through, and I start stripping all the stuff, take stuff out of my bag, whatnot, and I'm watching, and I walk up to. I believe these are like, I don't know if it's the full-on naked body scanner or what, but it's two. You step into this thing. It's got two sides, the front and the back side. And they tell you to like stand in a certain spot that the floor is marked. And what really caught my attention was these TSA workers saying, make your hands into a diamond and lift it up into the air. And when you diamond with your hand, it kind of more ends up being a triangle. And so I'm watching all these people. You don't have your shoes on or anything, right?
Whoa. Repeat what you just said. You completely phased out.
All right. Hotel internet. So I'm seeing people with, shoes taken off, belts off, whatever, step in one by one and hold up the Illuminati symbol as their body gets scanned, right? So the most bizarre thing in the world. And I couldn't help but laugh. I was like, this is ridiculous. And I actually made it a point not to make the Illuminati symbol. I kind of made this sort of, I didn't connect my index fingers together to make like a W shape.
Uh-oh.
If they're going to say anything, they didn't say anything, but I wasn't about to,
cause trouble. You rebel.
I did not abide the Illuminati symbol to, TSA.
Well done, my friend. All right, so today, we have a little update with the GM babies, right?
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of you guys, as usual, are commenting and talking on the comment section there on our website, canarycryradio.com. And somebody, and I wish I just had this name right in front of me. I'm sorry, poster guy or girl. I'm totally blowing it, but this person pointed out the fact that this is old news and that the articles came out, a while ago.
Right.
And they link to newscientist.com and CNN.com through the archives. And sure enough, this article came out in 2001. But as we looked at it, Basil, you and I, it's pretty clear that somebody must have posted it, reposted it at some point and made it into a bigger deal this last month.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, that's actually the real interesting thing is that if you search that article, as we did before, and it's interesting because everybody's reposting it, so a lot of the dates are being reset to I think it was July 28th or something when the article came out. So anyhow, the article is 11 years old. Now, that being said, those children who were, around 1 year old when that article was written are just now in 2012 coming of age. They are just now going to start going through puberty, which is, I'm sure, an exciting time for the scientists who are keeping an eye on them. Not to mention an exciting time for the children themselves, for all their interesting changes going on. But on top of that, why have we not heard more about this? Or now that there's been a resurgence of the original article, why is there not more articles or more information coming out from, whoever the original providers of the information was?
Yeah, it's very interesting, and I think that most people were fooled, as we were, that this is like, fresh off the press news, like, oh, GM babies, finally born, verified, all this stuff. And it's like, I guess it's not. It's old news. And
at the same time, nobody seemed to know about it. If this happened 11 years ago, why is this not a bigger deal?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. That's a good question. And yeah, why is it recirculating now? Someone must have posted it. Someone with influence, must have posted it to create this kind of, uproar this last few weeks here about it. And so who knows? I don't know. But for some of you guys, we just actually got a comment on that same page, canaryradio.com. If you go to episode 14, GM babies are here. A brother named Ian, who has a PhD in molecular biology, gave us a comment, and I'm not going to read it here, but if you're curious, go read it, because he does have a PhD in molecular biology, so he understands how some of this stuff works at a technical level, and he did a great job of kind of describing what exactly went on and where the actual line is from, just a normal human to actually creating new species of human. So
right.
Yeah,
it's very interesting. Make sure to go to episode 14 and check that out. Very intelligent post there and poster, which really calls attention to some of the details about the GM baby stuff. So there you go. We're gonna keep looking into it. I literally could not find a single thing, given the time that I gave it, about the progress that these kids are making. And so we will keep looking into that and see what we can find out, because I, for one, am immeasurably interested to see what's going on. And who knows, maybe if one of these kids lives nearby, maybe we can go talk to him or something.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
What their parents think and whatnot. That'd be cool.
Maybe shake his third hand or touch his antenna or his green skin. Or her, I guess.
Very good.
All right. Well, also, what else have we got going on, Gonz?
Let's see. We have, since I'm here in Branson, my goal is to get some sound bites from people. I have a booth. Well, actually, I don't have a booth. Doug Hamp has a booth that I'm going to be working. And our booth is right next to L.A. Marzulli's booth. And it actually is we're like the last booth before you go into this, like the extra special people's room where Chuck Missler and Rob Skiba and, some of the bigger guys are. So hopefully people stop, they talk to us and whatnot. And I'm going to try to just get a hold of people, speakers, presenters, authors, video makers, whoever I can find, and just get, a couple questions in, a couple snippets here and there. And we'll try to post those. Actually, I think, Basil, we talked about how perhaps for the next few weeks, depending on how many I get and how good they are, they might suck and we might not want to use it. But if they're good, we'll play one, short snippet interview or whatever on Canary Cry Radio and just kind of use that as a launching pad to talk about some stuff that they brought up.
Yeah, well,
sort of like
I'm sure there'll be some interesting stuff, and it'll be cool to have some of those guys bring up some subjects that we could talk about on the show for a few minutes.
Yeah, it'll be like an indirect interview, So, so we got that going on, and well, let's jump into some of the stuff that we're going to talk about today. I think we have a slew of articles that kind of point to the same sort of thing, which is surveillance.
Right. Right. Yeah. Again, we're gonna go back to our roots a little bit here and talk a little bit about the internet and surveillance and how they are just so closely connected. First of all, for all you internet pirates out there, tonight we are recording this on the 12th of July, and today, a new law is taking effect where ISPs will now be monitoring what you download on the internet, and whether it's coming from a legal source or an illegal source or some sort of file sharing system. And they're actually going to start doing some things about it on a smaller level. They've been busting the bigger guys. Mega Upload just got busted a few months ago. In the past, there's been Kazaa and Napster and things like that. But what they're doing now is they're going to start actually they're spreading a wide net to start deterring file sharing of copyrighted material on a very, very large scale. And it starts tonight. And what the deal is here is your internet service provider is going to be tracking everything you download, making sure it's kosher. And if it's not, there's a pretty subtle series of events that are going to start happening. Some correspondences that you're going to get at first, and warning you that you're being watched. But if it continues, the things will definitely get more severe.
Yeah, and they're going to actually give you a warning, from what I understand, and say, hey, we caught you. Let's make you got to not sign, but at least agree to not do it anymore, and then you get your internet back. So basically, they shut you down for a second and say, you have to sign this little petition, this little form, and basically agree that you're not going to do it, and then they give you back your internet. But then they can track how many times that happens. So let's say you're downloading something illegal, your internet gets shut down. That's strike one. And I don't think the article necessarily addresses how many strikes you get. Does it, Basil?
I don't know off the top of my head, but the consequences do actually get more severe, all the way up to having your internet irrevocably, taken away, which is, could be devastating for some of us. And it's interesting, and it's what I find really interesting about this is that it's addressing an issue that has been fought over for very, very harshly over the past few months with ACTA and PIPA and the third one there. And what I find interesting is that it's actually taking action on this without, as far as I know, trying to sneak in some other, less savory details that, the Stop ACTA people would be going against. And, I didn't hear I heard about this coming a while back, but there really has been no, real big public outcry against it. So it definitely came through some pretty sneaky channels, I would say. But on the other hand, the copyright holders, they do have a right to, protect their intellectual property. So it's not necessarily just about not allowing the pirating of copywritten material, but it is interesting to see the internet locked down in just this small way. The internet becomes just a little bit less free,
a little bit tighter. And I think the biggest thing that's really a telltale sign of the direction we're heading is the cooperation of the various ISP groups. And this particular article doesn't list which ISP providers are actually part of this, but I can only imagine, Cox, Time Warner, these are the big guys. Those guys are probably definitely helping out in the process. And, who knows what the little guys are doing. I'm sure they're being coerced into following the trend, so to speak, and help provide the prevention of this crime. Because what's going to happen is, if you're on a Cox network, or if you're on one of these big providers that are part of this, then you're going to definitely be, caught essentially. But if you're on like a smaller ISP that maybe doesn't have the capacity to do it, they may be getting away with stuff. And so, the criminals are always going to find a channel or an outlet and figure out a way to get around some of the
criminals.
systems. So,
the 13-year-old kids downloading movies and things like that. Those criminals
that steal intellectual property.
Correct.
And okay, I said criminals, but you know what I mean. People that download illegally. And, I think most people don't even realize how many things that they might have on their computer that is quote unquote illegal, so.
Right. Well, I mean, under these other propositions, with the ACTA and the PIPA, even having a picture of Justin Bieber on the desktop of your computer is considered copywritten material if nobody got a penny out of it. And so that's the trick. Now, what they've done here is just make it they're just doing what they can without, I guess, crossing the border or crossing some sort of line that creates some uproar. But yeah, I would suspect that there's going to be some pretty unhappy people who are used to getting movies and things like that for free, who will, no longer be able to do that scot-free.
Yeah, and it makes sense. Again, looking at both sides. As someone who has, I used to be on Napster and Kazaa and stuff like that when that stuff was out. But then also being on the other side of, I was a musician for a while trying to sell CDs and now, as a filmmaker and stuff like that, there's a level of like, hey, you don't want people to just steal your stuff. But at the same time, I think that providing it for free in general is just necessary to some extent as far as art is concerned. Because the people that really like stuff, they're going to buy it. They're going to buy it anyway. And do you kind of get what I'm saying, Basil?
No, absolutely. And that's actually been a big point in the whole piracy thing on the internet, is that the big media people and the movie business and the music business, who are all causing all sorts of trouble with the ACTA and the PIPA and things like that. There's been a lot of talk that they need to grow up. They need to start understanding the age that we're in now. They need to start making things easier and cheaper. That's the whole thing. Why would I go spend $20, $25, even $30 in some cases on a movie or a Blu-ray when I could get it for free? They need to get along with the times and figure out a way that makes sense for today's marketplace. And people like Netflix and Hulu's catching on, and people are catching on, and it's starting to be a thing. And that's sort of where I'm at. I mean, I don't pirate anything anymore just because it's even more of a hassle than anything else. Pay your Pay your $5, get Netflix, watch your movies there. And that's something that, is catching on a little bit more and more. But yeah, it is far from being a perfect system.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, again, I think that once people start to realize, especially the higher ups, that this is an opportunity to be creative, and like you said, like Hulu and all these other groups, it's much easier to just pay $5 a month or $8 a month or whatever and have unlimited viewing capacities than it is to like go through and like download torrents and
right
all anyway. So I think most people, even if they are people that download illegally and they know it, ultimately they're probably going to see the benefit of having a system set up that is cheap, but then gives you all the freedoms that you want,
Right.
So,
well, convenience is a big thing. And I don't know if I've told you this story on air. I might have done it, but I think I told you this story, Gonz. But in the town that I grew up in, there was this big, huge video store that you would rent videos from. And I spent half my childhood in that store picking out movies and renting movies all the time, as I'm sure we all did. But randomly, one summer when I was, I don't know, it was about half a decade ago or something, they just up and quit. Business was booming, but he just closed up, and we didn't have any place to rent movies anymore. Well, it turns out a story came out in the local paper that the guy who owned the video store took all the money that he got from selling the store and put it all into Netflix. And now he's, multimillionaire because of how big Netflix is coming. And I think that's the sort of ingenuity and the sort of forward thinking that, people need to have in all sections of their life, but especially the big media guys. If they would have been as smart as that guy in my hometown, the world would be a very different place, and we probably could all get along a little bit better.
Yeah, and ultimately, it's the those who want to control the system, control the money. And if you look at the entertainment industry, the corporate music business, and all that stuff, I mean, you can tell where the influence is coming from anyway. So I would just stick to independent ideas and the like, because ultimately, if you really want to buy, the cult CD or just whatever, you're only glorifying what you shouldn't be glorifying anyway. So I don't know where I'm going with that. Hey, it's almost 1 a.m. here in Branson, so give me a break.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot you guys are way later out there. Anyways, so there you go. That's the story on that. Moving on to some more internet surveillance things. Let's get into what is to be called the Internet of Things. And we talked about this a little bit, I think right at the very beginning. One of the very first episodes, we talked about the smart grid. And what the smart grid is basically the inclusion of so-called dumb appliances, such as blenders, refrigerators, dishwashers, sort of these things that are sort of seem a little low tech nowadays. Well, what's starting to happen is they are talking about putting chips in refrigerators and things like that to connect them to the internet, and thus sort of making the internet include all sorts of strange objects. And on top of this, there's an article that we have here that the CIA is actually talking about surveillance using these appliances and the more smart appliances like your TVs and your remotes and things like that. And actually reading it was a very dark moment for me, because they said something about how we are intentionally and willfully bugging our own homes with the technology that we own.
Yeah, and it's a brilliant setup. High definition, perfect screens, all this stuff. Very desirable, the advancement of entertainment systems. And it plays right into the hands of those who want to monitor us, because they're able to do just that. They're able to monitor us through the television set. And again, it's a desired effect. It's very reminiscent of the whole biblical prophetic idea of people wanting to take the mark or wanting to abide into the system. And so it is very alarming, because, there's a big part of me that's like, I like TVs that are flat, and, it's better than the
shiny
tube that we used to have.
3D and cool looking.
Back in college, this is kind of a side note, but back in college, my freshman year, right before I went into college, my, you call your roommate or whatever, the guy that's going to be your roommate. And I called him up and I was like, dude, I have a TV, man, so you don't have to bring a TV. And he's like, cool, man, so everything, whatever. So first day comes, and okay, the TV I brought was my dad's old TV. Okay. It was probably 3 inches by 3 inches, the screen, but it was probably 1.5 feet deep. And it's got the huge handle on it and the huge antenna, and the little dial thing, like that dial.
Oh my gosh.
He looks at me, and I'm like, I'm like, here's the TV, dude. He's like, man, that's not a TV. And I'm like, what do you mean? And, sure enough, because he's like, how are you going to play video games on that? And I'm like, I don't know. We'll figure it out. And he was an engineering major, so he figured out a way to like tune the system into like some frequency he was emitting from the video. I don't know. He did something crazy, but we played, video games via fuzzy television screen, which,
Wow.
until he got enough and bought his own TV.
That's a really tough life.
Later. But anyway, that is what things, how things used to be, and now it's like you must have the super crystal clear, I can see your nose hairs,
Right, and well, now we have this whole app phenomenon. Apps sort of just appeared overnight a few years ago. I don't know if any of you remember the time before the apps. But this is sort of a new thing, and what it does is it's bringing all sort of new, what do I call it? I mean, it's just new software. These new things are coming into our house. Let me just read a part of this article here. Everything from remote controls to clock radios can now be controlled via apps, and chip company ARM recently unveiled low-powered, cheaper chips, which will be used in everything from fridges and ovens to doorbells. And so we have here the chip that's going to be going in all the low technology things. A doorbell. Your doorbell is going to be hooked up to the internet. I mean, talk about some scary stuff. But like I said, these apps are sort of invading all of our technology. TVs, like I said, clock radios. There's radios that you can get apps on, remote controls. I don't really have any of that, but I have enough things that have these apps that, more than I need. But the trick is that you don't really think about when you're getting apps or doing anything like that, but you're agreeing to give them all of your information. I mean, any app that you install on your phone, on your clock, anything, has a gateway has opened, sort of a portal has opened to the information happening in your life that can now be transferred to some big computer somewhere and collected and stored and sold and things like that. So, I mean, look at your phone. If those of you who have iPhones, how many apps do you have on your phone? I have like 60, I think. And that's 60 different people, 60 different entities who are receiving any information that they want. I mean, sure, there's going to be some restrictions, and some people are going to be interested more in some things, and some people are just not going to care. They just want to make some money. But the fact is that more and more items in today's technological world are able to spy on us. And we may think, and we've thought about this and we've talked about it, and it's something we've all sort of almost gotten used to talking about, is that is exactly that. They could be spying on me. I mean, exactly. My friend, he puts a little piece of tape over the camera on his computer, on his MacBook, and it's funny when people see it, because people will be like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "It's so the government won't watch me." And then the other people will laugh, but I'm sitting there like, "Oh yeah, no, that's a good idea." Good job, good thinking. But you know what I mean? And I mean, even right now, I'm sitting in front of my computer, and I haven't upgraded to the tape in front of the camera. It probably would be a good idea. But at this point, the CIA has probably seen me in my bathrobe enough that I don't mind letting them see that now. But you get the point. So with this whole Internet of Things, we're sort of bugging ourselves. We are doing the work for the government, for the CIA, for whoever wants to spy on us, corporations mainly. We are willfully letting them into our lives and opening up these portals. And the thing with the TVs that I find the most interesting, these TVs that have apps, they seem like the most amazing thing in the world. I mean, they have Netflix, they have Hulu, they have Pandora, they have everything right there on the TV that's connected to the internet. And I mean, I love that. That sounds... I mean, you're watching Netflix. You don't even have to get a cable connection or satellite or anything. You're just using the internet and these services that you already have, saving, tons on bills. But at the same time, you have a telescreen right in your living room or wherever you have a TV. And 1984, the book, I reference it all the time, but I mean, there's a reason for that, obviously. Everybody had these telescreens in their house. And that's exactly what's going to be happening. Those of you with these new TVs, that's just exactly what it is. It's a telescreen that they can view you. A lot of these TVs are having cameras and things like that now for web chatting and things. And don't think for a second that somebody smart enough, somebody with the will, and somebody with the money cannot look through the camera that's pointing back at you from your computer, from your phone, from the TV in your living room. And so that's what we're talking about when we talk about the network of things and how we are willfully doing the work for those who want to use us in their sort of little game, really.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think with chipping of the appliances, it's really a physical, connecting the kind of cyber world into the physical. And part of the smart grid and just the global grid in general of combining and manipulating all that information causes various things like you brought up earlier before the show, we were talking, Basil, selling items. You won't be able to sell your doorbell anymore because it's chipped, and if it's not in the proper location, because once it's chipped, it's it's got a geolocation that's assigned. If it moves, then the whoever's in charge there is going to know that it was moved, and they're going to question it or whatever. I mean, it really creates an all-seeing eye through everything, every appliance, everything that you own, everything physical that's electronic in any way is being monitored. And, there's all sorts of theories of how energy might become the next form of currency because everything that we use, has the burning up of energy. And so
right.
If the powers that be can start controlling the amount that each person uses, and it starts to act like currency, they can have tremendous power in controlling every aspect of our lives. And it kind of just sounds a lot like Mark of the Beast in some way.
Right, exactly.
Not being able to sell or trade or anything without the mark.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say was, I don't remember if I brought it up in a previous episode or not, but there has been a bill floating around that wants to make it illegal to sell copywritten items between people, between you and I. For instance, my phone. If my phone becomes old, I get a new one, in the next 6 weeks when the new phone comes out or whatever, and I don't trade in my old phone and I want to sell it to you. Well, they want to make it illegal for that to happen, because why should I be able to sell, an Apple phone without Apple getting their cut? Makes sense if you're using your business sense there. But at the same time, an obvious breach of all sorts of rights and things. But now, when we're putting chips in things and adding the internet to dumb appliances like refrigerators or things like that, for instance, let's just imagine that I sell my refrigerator on Craigslist, and it now has the chip that it can be recognized by the internet, and I sell it. Well, if that law passes, which, it might be hidden in somewhere, but if that law passes, now they can see that my refrigerator is moving. Is your refrigerator running? Yes. Well, you're under arrest. Just kidding. Well, sorry. Okay, so they see that my refrigerator is going to somebody else's house. And now all of a sudden, they're saying, why is his refrigerator moving and nothing else? Well, let's call him up, see if he sold it, see if he got any money for it. You know what I mean? And so it becomes this whole big grid where it's just all about control. There's more control going on.
Well, I think the biggest point that the CIA well, at least with this article, is that the CIA is essentially admitting openly that they're spying on us. They're not even like enough people know about it now where they're like, yeah, we're spying on you and here's how we're doing it. Yeah,
they're not playing dumb anymore. Well, that was another thing that they said in the article was, with the nimble fingers of a computer engineer, you can pretty much take control of anything that's connected to the internet.
Right.
If the CIA wanted to, they could take over your phone. They do constantly. If they wanted to, they could take over your refrigerator. If they wanted to, they could take over your TV and things like that. And, you can just see a world where, government messages and announcements can just turn on your TV, and you're sort of forced to watch them or something like that. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, the rabbit hole of this whole connecting to the internet thing is just so deep, and it's so ingrained in the culture and in our society and the way things work that it's almost impossible. Imagine your life without the internet. We couldn't do this show without the internet. I'd be extremely bored probably without the internet. Not even that, but everything down to the shipment of groceries, the shipment of anything really. Everything is on the internet, and that's the world now. We've sort of created this artificial world, cybernetic world that now we need. We're dependent on it.
Yeah, and I remember because the internet was not around. Well, it wasn't around publicly necessarily when I was born, but I think both of us, Basil, you and I, as we grew older, the internet became much more prevalent. Actually, you're quite a bit younger than I am, and the internet might have been around when you were born. But
nah.
I remember just the hesitation of people of trusting, putting credit card numbers on the internet and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I just recall the conversation of like, oh, we got to really be careful. We're really, you're just typing in your credit card number and there it is on the internet. And, so the fear has always kind of been there, but so many people have bought into it so quickly that it completely transformed the way everything works in the last 20 years, 15 years. And it's unprecedented. If you think about it, it's just, very strange, because I think for me, I saw it kind of change, but at the same time, you speak to folks that are a little bit older and they've gone through a little bit more. I mean, they really see it, because things didn't change that drastically. Culturally it did for, between the 60s, 70s and 80s or whatever, but the 90s and the 2000s and everything, I mean, it is a completely different world of how everything works.
Right.
And I just think that, if the trend continues, it's partially our fault as people who bought into it without necessarily looking at the bigger picture or the precaution, being careful about what this all means. And, I guess we're going to reap what we sow, but,
well, we've just sort of become dependent on it. And I think it's a good example for all sorts of technology where at first you may be hesitant, and then you sort of just become dependent on it. Imagine the human race after, 10, 20 years of slight genetic modifications. Well, after 10 or 20 years, that's a lot of babies. It's a lot of babies who can be genetically modified. And who knows what will happen. Maybe somehow the human race will be dependent on genetic improvements or something of the like. And I mean, that sort of rings a bell when we start talking about the mark of the beast. And as we've talked about before, it being more of a genetic sort of mark than anything else. It just and pairing that with the internet and the sort of global surveillance that we are willfully opening gateways into our homes, into our front pockets, literally, for the powers that be to surveil and observe and report.
Yeah. Well, to tie it in to this next level, couple little articles that we just want to mention. We probably won't get into it too much, but so, okay, our TVs are watching us, our computers are watching us, and eventually our appliances like our dishwasher, our microwave, our toaster, oven is going to be able to watch us. But there are other things, as if that's not enough, to spy on us. Robotic flies might be, or swarms of supersonic robot bugs,
right,
can be the future of drones. So you're thinking, hey, check out that dragonfly. Guess what? Government spy machine.
Right. I mean, and this has been in movies for decades and decades, and it's, the whole nanotechnology thing has just been crazy. I mean, we've talked about the mechanical dust that can be smart dust, exactly, that can be sprinkled over and used to surveil things. Well, now, I mean, you have remote control insects that can do all sorts of things. I mean, they talk about everything from, sneaking this robotic fly into, I don't know what they use, a drug dealer's house or something. But then, I mean, they talk about swarms of these insects just flying around town, doing whatever swarms of insect drones do. And it's just crazy because, I mean, it's happening. It's right now. They exist, and they'll only get better.
Well, it's getting to that point where all the talk about a one world government and, just the Illuminati or whatever you want to call it, the single entity or group that is going to completely be separate from the rest of humanity and under their jurisdiction is being built. And again, we're helping build it, right, with all the gadgets that we buy and everything. But it really does create a very distinct line in the sand, so to speak, of, hey, there's those who know how to use the technology and can use it for their benefit, and then there's the consumers. And it's just really creating that dividing line. It's making it very clear. And the problem is we don't really know who's behind it. There's obviously, various levels and whatnot, but part of what I find interesting is part of even our desire to work for a big company or work for, whatever, a corporation or something like that. It's upholding this system that is, basically we're weaving our own noose. We're threading our own noose, and eventually it's going to take us. But luckily, we got Jesus. So
right, exactly. I mean, there's
really going to take. But it is something that is important in that we have to wake people up to these issues, because I think people don't want to hear it, and I get that. But, you tell someone that, hey, that bug over there is a government spy drone, and, people are just going to look at you like you're insane.
Right. Well, and they're still doing a pretty good job of, they're still dropping the hints, though. I mean, we've seen video of both of the George Bushes talking about one world government, and we got an email a little while ago. I don't know if I have his permission to say his name, so we'll call him D. This guy D sent us an email talking about how he was watching CNN, and a guy was talking. He just straight up came out and said, and a lot of times it happens, that they're moving towards a new world order. That's the goal right now. That's what's happening, and it's funny because you hear this. It's not uncommon for this to slip out oftentimes on the news and things like that. And I think it's interesting that it's not uncommon, because it kind of shows that it's slipping out. I think it's so ingrained in their daily lives. Their daily life is devoted to, bringing about the one world government or the new world order. It's their life's mission that they just talk about it. They just say it accidentally, just without even thinking about it.
Yeah. And, okay, I just want to throw this in there because I was recently at an airport. CBS came out with an article a couple days ago called "New Homeland Security Laser Scanner Reads People at Molecular Level." And basically, they've created a laser scanner, that reads people at the molecular level. And this has been invented. This is, public knowledge now. And so, if the bugs can't get you, and, the bugs can tell you what you're doing, the computers and whatnot can look at your behavior and whatnot. But, hey, you know what? That's not enough. We need to know at the molecular level what's going on. So they can measure a person's adrenaline, if there's gunpowder on their clothes, if someone's walking around high, well, they can high on drugs, they can use this scanner to find out that they're high on whatever drug.
The body chemistry.
And they can identify that. Yeah, and man, what else is left?
I know, right? Well, even that. That's exactly the thing. What else is left? I mean, besides our DNA, are they going to be scanning our DNA every time we walk past now? Maybe making sure that we have the socially acceptable augmentations or something. I don't know. You just you think about these things.
I find it interesting that a lot of these articles coming out, these are major outlets, CBS, NBC, the UK, all these big outlets. They always mention Big Brother or 1984. They'll kind of hint at it, and this article is no different. The last paragraph of this article that talks about this laser, the molecular scanning laser thing. Okay, let me just read this one here. It says, although the technology could be used by Big Brother, Guinea Photonics, which is the company that made this laser, states that the device could be far more beneficial being used for medical purposes to check for cancer in real time, lipids detection, and patient monitoring. So, yeah, see, it's going to be good because we can monitor people with their cancer, of different diseases, and the medical world is going to thrive because we're going to be able to monitor people better. But then they have to always put that caveat in there, although it seems like it's going to be Big Brother. It's like, the fact that they have to be apologetic about that is should be alarming in general.
Well, exactly. It's kind of the same thing when Obama signed NDAA. Although this could be abused, I'm not going to do it, I promise. You know what I mean? It's like, thank you. Thank you for admitting that this is totally wrong and that you shouldn't be doing this. I really appreciate your honesty with that. So, but you're okay, so you're still signing it. Thank you. That makes me feel really nice. And but I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, thank you. I honestly appreciate you recognizing that this molecular scanner could be used to, do all sorts of invasive things in a public setting without me knowing. Thank you for recognizing that and, not leaving it up to myself to come up with that and, freak out about it on my own. Thank you for telling me right off the bat. That's really honest and nice of you. But please just keep it to the cancer patients. I love that. I love that part of it.
Yeah. Oh boy, that's too much. I was trying to think of a couple of Bible verses come to mind. First is Daniel 12:4 that talks about knowledge will increase, and
right.
With the internet and everything else, I mean, we've seen knowledge increase cumulatively. I think the stats is that it doubles. It's been doubling every 5 years or something since the internet hit the stage or hit the world. It's just there's no way to deny how the Bible actually shows this stuff. And a lot of people talk about when concerning Bible prophecy, a lot of people talk about Israel, what's going on. And of course, Israel is important. And we actually haven't brought up Israel at all on this show. And that's, I think, partially for a reason, because I think there's a lot of other guys talking about Israel that probably do a much better job than we would.
Right.
But, tied into a lot of the big stuff is a lot of this global lockdown, the global grid and all this stuff. And I think,
well, it's crazy because I mean, I know this family, very close family to myself, and I love them with all my heart. But it's like they're the kind of people like, oh, did you hear the Nostradamus thing? And Nostradamus predicted that this was going to happen, and look what else he says, and this is going to be crazy. And I'm like, yeah, that's crazy. That's nuts. Look what the Bible says. It says all this other stuff that's happening. Isn't that crazy? Look at that, how much it lines up. Oh my gosh, and it was written longer ago. It's crazy. Like, yeah, the Bible has, but Nostradamus, oh my gosh. It just blows my mind.
Yeah. I one of the things that I think one of the first prophecies actually that I looked at, this is even before I was a believer, that really captured my attention was the return of Israel. And the Bible in several places in Isaiah and stuff saying, Israel's going to be a nation again. And, it's funny because and this is kind of a rabbit trail, but when I talk to people that don't believe in prophecy in general or whatnot, there's two reactions when I bring up the Israel thing. Israel becoming a nation in 1948. They say two things. One, they say either, well, it's just a self-fulfilling prophecy. They knew that it's part of the Bible prophecy, so they made it happen, so it makes it seem like the Bible's true. That's more the skeptical kind of perspective, right? And then the other kind of answer you get is well, the whole Israel nation thing is a Zionist movement thing. And, I find it interesting that most people don't get the fact that, like, the Bible, the way the Bible predicts stuff and the way it prophesizes stuff, it prophesizes events. Okay, so the event that Israel becomes a nation in a day was predicted. It doesn't mean that, it's
right.
good, quote unquote, or bad. It's just going to happen. And
exactly.
whoever caused it, I think it is a Zionist thing, agenda and whatnot. But the bottom line is,
it doesn't say specifically how it happens.
Right, exactly. And it played out almost to a T for what was written several thousand years ago, and not several thousands, but a couple thousand years ago. And not only that, but I forgot my second point.
It happens when you get so excited about things.
I get so passionate about something, I totally forget what I was talking about. But I think the bottom line was that I remember now, the diaspora. Okay, so how does a nation get dispersed and the people of that nation retain their culture, right? And to large effect their lineage, and then they get brought back into their homeland. That doesn't just happen. How come it's only happened to Israel and the Jews?
Yeah.
How come it's never happened to anybody else?
Yeah.
Ever. There's something to that, and I don't know. I could get really fired up about it as I just did. But
no, that's an excellent point.
I think that as a foundation of proof to show that what's written in the Bible as far as prophecy is concerned is true and is real. We can look at all these other things happening and filter it through what we see today with all these different things happening with, the technology and whatnot, and begin to understand what these prophecies might have been talking about. Because, again, knowledge would increase. Daniel 12:4 talks about it. We, at this point in time, have a better grasp of what some of these prophecies were talking about than people 200, 300, 400 years ago. And I don't know. There's part of us that should be excited about that, and is part of why we started Canary Cry Radio, is because I don't think enough people are talking about that angle of Bible prophecy.
Right. Yeah, and it's like I said, the whole Nostradamus thing. And then there's the Bible, and it's like, why? I mean, they're so similar, even coming from a secular ideology. If I'm a secular person, and I'm so excited about the ancient writings of Nostradamus, and then there's similar, even more accurate, more, more proven, more evidence for the prophecies of the Bible, and just because it's the Bible, I'm automatically disinterested.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so it's just a very interesting situation. But anyhow,
yeah, I think we'll all find out, what's going to happen in due time. And just as a final point here, I know in the past people have brought up the rapture debate and, like, are you guys pre-trib, are you guys post-trib, and whatever. And I personally, at this point in time, I take on two positions. One is pre-wrath, which I can defend biblically, but two, I'm what Marzulli calls pan-tribulation, which is basically it'll all pan out in the end. So, but it's funny because I was talking to the guy I was traveling with out here, the guy who got me the tickets. His name is Dave, Dr. Dave, and he's done a lot of work in Bible prophecy and all this stuff. And I told him, I'd kind of adhere more to that pre-wrath view, and his comment was, pre-wrath is the stupidest view you can ever hold. And he said, because he's a pre-trib guy, and he's like, and he's a very smart guy, but he's just very dogmatic about the pre-trib thing. And he was like, if you ever want to be credible in the prophecy world, you can't be pre-wrath. There's no credibility there.
Ooh.
And I didn't really say this to him, but I definitely thought it, which is, look, is our goal to parse out the truth as given to us in the Bible, or is it to just appease the masses? And I'm not saying pre-trib is wrong, but to suggest that, I'm going to lose credibility in the prophecy world, quote unquote, if I hold this view, it's like, really, I don't give a darn.
Right.
Well, think about
losing credibility is almost the national pastime of a lot of the individuals in the prophecy world. It's just sort of a part of the game, even in biblical times. Prophets were always having to deal with all sorts of stuff that the normal man necessarily didn't have to deal with, and especially when they went against the beliefs of the masses. I mean, it had never rained before, and Moses was suddenly, guys, not Moses, Noah. It's gonna rain. There's gonna be water falling from the sky. Oh, that sounds insane. That's never happened before, and it never will because you're a crazy person. You know what I mean? It's just what happens.
Yeah. Well, being shunned by the people, the group of shunned is like an extra shun.
Shunny, shun.
All right, I think we're tapped out.
Yeah. All right. Well, Gonz, you have a good week there over in Missouri. I'm sure you'll check in again, and you'll tell us all about the cool things that's going on over there. Really stoked that you could make time to do this, and we want to thank everybody out there listening for tuning in once again. Make sure to check out our Twitter and our Facebook and our YouTube and everything like that, and tell your friends, and keep your chin up. All right, guys. Goodbye.
You always have it one line.
Dang it. Maybe here, you say something.